In the closed-eye experiment, we paid attention briefly to the location of our minds. Let's look further into this, but now with our eyes open. Where are our minds? Are they central, in our heads, separate from the rest of the world? Or are they at large, undivided from the world? Others tell me that my thoughts are in my head. I accept this way of thinking about my mind, the public view of me. My mind is here, yours is there. But my private experience is different. My thoughts are not in my head here, simply because I don't find my head here. Instead, I find boundless awareness. This awareness contains both my thoughts and feelings and the world. My mind is undivided from the world. Here's a way of illustrating this. I'm looking at this apple from the emptiness at my center. I see its shape and color there, from this shapeless, colorless space here. I'm also thinking about the apple. It's red, it's round, it's ready to eat. Where are my thoughts? Others say my thoughts are in my head, but I find no head here. Instead, I find capacity that is filled both with my thoughts and the apple. My thoughts about things are not distant and separate from those things. My thoughts are out there, connected to the world. Obviously, others do not see my thoughts there in the world, but my experience is different. My mind is at large in the world. I find no dividing line separating my mind from the world. It's the same with my feelings. I feel pleasure in seeing the color and shape of this mango. I feel a desire to eat it. My feelings and reactions are not contained inside a person here at my center. They're out there in the world. My feelings of wonder merge with the snowdrops. My excitement isn't separate from the fire. I'm capacity for a world filled with feeling. When we live as if our minds are central, it's not surprising if sometimes we feel full to bursting with thoughts and feelings. There's a lot of things going on in a very small space. But when we see that privately we're empty of mind at center, that all our thinking and feeling is out there in the world, a great weight lifts from our shoulders. How good it is to be free of our minds at center, and how our minds love to be set free in this way. When we let them go back into the world, they breathe and expand. We become more creative when we don't hold on to our minds at center, when we're consciously open to the source. And we become more warm and generous-hearted when we don't hold on to our hearts at center, but let them be where they belong, out there in the world. Locating our minds and hearts out there in the world doesn't mean, however, that we ignore them or stop being responsible for what we think and feel. In fact, we're likely to be more aware and more responsible, not less. Our minds and hearts are no longer hidden inside us, but are out in the open, in front of us, so to speak, on show in the clear light of consciousness. And as who we really are, not only are we responsible for the thoughts and feelings that flow from within us, we're also responsible for everything, since everything flows from this incredible mystery at our center. Obviously, as people, we don't create the world, but as this mystery, we do. One of the situations where there's a striking difference between our public and private identities is when we move. If we go out for a walk or travel in a car, everyone around us sees us moving. But are we moving from our own point of view? I'm not. Here's an experiment you can do to see if you're the same. Point at your no face and slowly turn around. For others, you're turning whilst the world remains still. But is it the same from your point of view? Here's my experience. Beyond my finger, I see the room going past. But this side of my finger, I see no movement at all. Here at center, I'm still. It's the world that's moving. Notice how this is true whenever you're on the move. When you're walking, you're looking from boundless stillness as the ground moves under your feet. When you're cycling, you don't move, it's the road that's moving, rushing past underneath you. And when you're in a car, enjoy watching the landscape flow into your stillness. You go nowhere, whilst your destination comes to you. If we're only aware of our public identity, then we see ourselves as always on the move, and this can at times be tiring and stressful. We never quite stop, never quite rest. But if we're also aware of our private identity, aware of this stillness at the heart of our lives, then we find within ourselves profound peace and rest, even when we're rushing about. Being aware of this inner stillness is both deeply relaxing and energizing. We can't see our heads, you might say, but we can touch them. Let's do an experiment to see if this is true. Touch your head. What are you touching? I'm aware that for you, I'm touching my head, but my experience is different. This is the difference between the public and the private. From my point of view, my hand disappears into empty space here at my center, and then I experience lots of sensations, but they're not happening in a head here, they're happening in boundless awareness. They don't solidify me into a thing here, they don't limit me. Even whilst I'm experiencing them, I remain spacious and at large. What do you find? Do your sensations add up to a head there at your center, inside which you're living? Or are you capacity for your sensations, just as your capacity for everything else?